And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Summer with the Stars. This is episode 9. I'm Owen Newkirk, and today we are pleased to be joined by Stars forward Justin Dowling. And there was a little bit of concern at the end of the season and into the summer that we may not see Justin Dowling back because, Justin, you had a phenomenal season both in Idaho and then with the Texas Stars. Talk to us a little bit about the contract process with Texas, because there was some worry out there from the fans that you might attract some other teams' attention this offseason.
Yeah, there's obviously other teams that were interested just because I did have a good year. But in the end, I wanted to be back in Texas, and I liked the organization and the teammates and the coaching staff and obviously the city and the state is great to live in. So there were other offers on the table, but I'm happy to rejoin the Stars.
Well, we were talking a little bit about weather in Texas with lots of the players through the course of the season this summer, and it seems like one of the constant themes, aside from the hockey part of it, seems like most of the guys in the Texas Stars really enjoy the T-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops that they can wear during the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice perk to it. Playing in Swift Current Ultra Road Junior is a little different. It was a big parka and snow pants and snow boots every day, so it's a nice change of pace for me to be able to just put on a pair of shorts and throw on the flip-flops and head to the rink. And I mean, in the playoffs there, I wasn't used to it too much. Get up and it was already 80 degrees outside, and I have to try and get focused and play a playoff game later that day. So it was completely different for me. But yeah, I love the weather out there.
Now tell me a little bit about your season last year, because you have gone through an interesting trajectory of your careers thus far. As you mentioned, you played in Swift Current, which was interesting because you played with teammates last year, Cody Eakin, although you really joined the Stars as Eakin was going to Dallas, but also Taylor Vaz, so you had some familiarity. There were a lot of other guys because of a really strong Western Hockey League presence with the coaches and a lot of the players. Do you like the fact, was it comfortable for you because when you came to Texas there was that big WHL presence?
Yeah, it was a lot easier transition, even compared to last year, going from Utah back up to Abbotsford when I knew a lot of the guys from camp and stuff in Abbotsford. But I felt a lot more comfortable going into Texas from Idaho this year, just for the fact that I had played against a lot of those guys for 5-6 years, even in minor hockey, some of them, and then knowing Cody and Taylor, and I played some minor hockey with Matt Fraser as well, so I knew a ton of guys, and it definitely made the adjustment a lot easier. And I mean, when you go to a team with a great group of guys that like what we have, it makes things a lot easier.
Now, you started the season in Idaho. You had played parts of 2 years because you played on an ATO with Abbotsford coming out of your final year of juniors with Swift Current. And then, as you mentioned, Utah, Abbotsford kind of split the year 2 seasons ago. But last year, I speculated from watching you play with us last year that you probably would have had an AHL contract somewhere had it not been for the NHL lockout. You ended up starting in Idaho, but that wasn't the typical ECHL Idaho lineup, was it?
No, it was a lot different. There was a lot of really talented hockey players, and I was fortunate enough to play with some of them, like Kale Mulrat, who had a great year in St. John's after the lockout ended. And there's guys that were full-timers in the NHL that were down there playing in the East Coast Hockey League. So, I mean, you have Scott Gomez, Joey Crabb, even like Devin Setaguchi was down there. So, I mean, there was a lot of talent there, and it was fun to play against them for the time that the lockout was on.
And I think it's even more impressive with the kind of talent that you were playing with in Idaho, the numbers you put up, because you were leading the team in points at the time you signed with the Texas Stars in December. I think it was early January. When you made that transition, you had already been voted to the starting lineup, the ECHL All-Star team, and Idaho had a very, very dangerous lineup. And I was talking to guys like you, like Hubert Labrie, and others that had played in Idaho that came up to Texas. It seemed like you guys had a lot of fun going to the rink every day because of such a winning atmosphere and environment in Boise.
Yeah, it's always fun when you're winning, and I mean we were winning, but it wasn't just winning. We were winning by 4 or 5 goals every game, so it was a lot of fun to go there and try and get some goals and put up some points. And mean, when you're winning like that, everything's just a lot better, and the mood in the dressing room is just a lot more easygoing, and everyone's always smiling. Not like when you're on a losing streak or something where everyone's scared to come to the rink, scared to get yelled at. So it was nice, and it was really easygoing. And Brad Ralph's a great coach, so he knew how to put the lineup together, and he was definitely a reason why we played so well and scored so many goals and had so much fun.
And it's interesting to hear you say that because that was his first year for Idaho as the head coach, and obviously, yeah, he had a very successful season. The team went into the playoffs, actually deep to the conference finals. I think a lot of people thought that Idaho, like the Texas Stars, was going to go deeper than they did. No slouch to make the conference finals, but do you think that judging by the players that you played with in Idaho, they were pretty disappointed that they didn't make it to the Kelly Cup finals?
Yeah, I thought they were going to make it for sure. I thought they had a good chance at winning it all. I mean, I didn't see the teams from the other side, but I thought for sure they were going to make it to the finals. And talking to a lot of the guys like Chase Coyle and LeBrie, I know they were all pretty disappointed, and they didn't expect something like that to happen. But, I mean, that's hockey. That happened to us. So it's a competitive sport, and especially when it gets into the postseason, everything gets ramped up a notch. So other teams are going to come out and push the pace a little bit.
Well, you signed your standard AHL contract with the Stars on January 7th, was officially announced, and you were called up from Idaho. It took 5 days to make your debut because, of course, the Stars sort of roster was in limbo. You played January 12th was your first game against San Antonio, and I have to ask, for a guy that had, I think it was about 47 points or 46 or 47 with Idaho coming into playing for the Texas Stars, you didn't score a point for your first 3 games. Were you starting to wonder if their transition was going to work here?
No, I wasn't too worried because, I mean, it's not all about getting points. If you're not getting points and not getting chances, then you should start getting worried. But I had my fair opportunity of chances, and I was playing well, so I knew it was going to come. So, I mean, if I'm not getting chances, being an offensive minded forward, then I should start getting to be a little bit worried. But everyone was clicking and everything was going well. The points just weren't there, and soon enough they did start to come, and then everything kind of just fell into place from there.
No, absolutely. In fact, you scored 7 points in your next 5 games, so the burden on your shoulders had to be lifted almost immediately. But I remember right after, I think it was that 3rd game you played where you hadn't had a point yet, and you looked at either me or the Stars trainer DJ Amadio and said, "I can't score goals." And then you turned around and scored a hat trick, the 6th in team history at the end of the month against San Antonio. It was the only one the Stars scored all year. It's only, like I said, the 6th ever in the franchise. So apparently that goal-scoring lack of confidence didn't last very long.
Yeah. That's why I was so frustrated, and that's why I said I couldn't score. It was because I was getting my chances, and they just weren't going in. But, yeah, it was nice to get that hat trick. It definitely got the monkey off my back, and when I got that first goal, it was such a relief, and it definitely got a lot of weight off my shoulders, and I felt a lot more confident. I mean, when you come to a team, even if you know a lot of the guys, you're still going to feel a little uncomfortable your first couple games, getting to know the systems and little things like that, just getting to know your way around the city and the dressing room. But I mean, it took probably 1 or 2 weeks to get comfortable and be confident talking and approaching everyone in the dressing room and stuff like that. So once that came, it was a lot easier to be confident on the ice.
Now, I've talked to just about everybody on the team throughout the course of the season, and obviously we're doing this summer series, and everybody keeps talking about how well organized the players were, let alone the coaching staff, in the locker room as far as getting along and chemistry goes. Did you feel as though, I mean, you said something about the difference with the Western Hockey League presence in Texas last year, but what was it about having guys like a Luke Gazdic, a Toby Peterson, Max Fortunas, I could go on with more, and Sevier Wattier, etc., that really helped create this bond with the whole team? It wasn't just a group here, a group there, but it really seemed like everybody was very close-knit.
Yeah, those guys were great, and especially with what they did for me and accepting me and bringing me in and a part of the team. Like, what they do for the team is unbelievable. They always want everyone together and doing stuff together, and that helps create chemistry off the ice. When you when you guys are hanging out and able to talk off the ice, everything on the ice just comes natural and it comes so much easier. And like I mean, they're always trying to plan stuff to get us all involved, and it was amazing. Those guys are great, and especially coming from the Ontario Hockey League or the QMJHL, I don't know a lot of guys from over there, and they're just such straight shooters, and I really appreciate them, and I really do appreciate what they did for me, especially coming in as a new guy and not knowing the coaching staff and not knowing a lot of the older guys. They did a lot for me.
Knowing that group of 5 are going to be back with the Texas Stars, although all of them will be trying to make the Dallas Stars lineup, what's that going to do for the Texas Stars chemistry right out of the gate for the 2013-14 season? You have the same coaching staff back for their second year, and that core group of veteran leaders, that has to be a good way to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, I hope all the best for them, and I hope they do push for roster spots in Dallas. But if they're back, that's better for us because they bring so much to the table in the dressing room, and they do so much for us. I mean, just look at like a guy like Luke and what he does in fighting one of his really good friends in the playoffs there because he took a shot at Alexiak. So I mean, they do all the little things for us, and they're so great, and they just bring everything so much closer together in the dressing room. And I mean, if something goes wrong in the dressing room, they're the first person to point it or go and acknowledge what happened, and everything's sorted out within a minute. So that's why we have such good chemistry in the dressing room.
It's also interesting because now you're in a position, being your second year with Texas, being a guy that's now played 2 or 3 years in the pro system, along with a guy like Mike Hedden. Christopher Nilstorp is obviously going to be pushing Dan Ellis to try to win the backup job behind Kari Lettinen in Dallas. Jack Campbell's going to be back with the Texas Stars. You're going to have some guys 2 or 3 years experience to go along with the veteran guys. Do you feel like it really gives this incredible group already with anybody new that comes in is going to have to immediately be enveloped by such a great support structure?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when everyone gets an extra year under their belt of pro hockey. So, I mean, this will be my 3rd year, and I feel a lot comfortable going into the dressing room and heading back down to Texas. So I'm sure everyone else is feeling like that as well.
What's it like for you this year, though? Because you're coming in now with the AHL deal already signed. You know you're coming to the Texas Stars. You don't have to go and try to earn a call-up right away. Obviously, you still have to earn your roster spot just like everybody else, but is this a big difference for you getting ready for this season as opposed to the lockout year last year?
No, I don't think so. I try and approach every season the same way. I mean, I like to try to eventually earn a call-up or something, so I'm trying to work towards that and maybe trying to get a little bigger and stronger, but I'm approaching it the same way as I did last year. I mean, last year worked out really well for me, and the off-season worked out really well for me, so I'm trying to do the same things that I did last year that are trying to get me prepared for the hockey season this year.
Well, part of the reason why you had such success was the chemistry that you created with your line with Mike Hedden and Alex Chason, and it was just an incredible transformation, especially when the guys that were with Texas at the start of the year went up to Dallas when the lockout ended and their season began. There was a lot of questions about who's going to sort of emerge into this role, and you became an integral part of that with that line. Why do you think that you three worked out so well together?
I don't know. I think we work really well off the ice. We're all really good friends. We all get along really well, and I mean that helps to carry over onto the ice. If somebody's not pulling their weight, you're not afraid to tell them to get going or start playing better, because I mean you're comfortable with each other and you're all friends. So I mean they're not going to take it to heart. They just know that it's their job to play good and it's their job to do better. So I mean in that aspect it was good that we were friends off the ice, and it helped to make us a good line mate. But I don't know, we worked well. Everyone had their different aspects of the game that they were good at, and it all seemed to click really well. Alex did a lot of the dirty work in the corners. I mean, he's a big, strong kid, so he's good at stuff like that. But I was just allowed to go out there and freewheel and try and make things happen, try to create plays. And Hedden was just a bulldog out there. I mean, he was always pushing defense back, and he was always working so hard and making the big hit, making the big plays when it happened. And I mean, he made a lot of huge plays that if our line wasn't going, all of a sudden the next shift he's got a goal or makes a big hit or gets in on the forecheck and does something special. So it seemed like any time we were down and out, there was someone on our line that would kind of pick us up and get us going again.
And it was amazing, too, because of the physical play. Now, I know you don't shy away from the hitting either, but you mentioned with the way that both Hedden and Chason play fit so physically, do you feel like you had a lot of extra space out there?
Yeah, it definitely saved me from getting a lot of bumps and bruises. They did a lot of good work with that. It gave me a lot more room because, I mean, like I said, it pushes defense back, and if defense are scared to go back and get the puck because those two guys are barreling down on them, ready to hit them, it's going to create space in the middle of the ice for a guy like me who can get the puck and maybe look for the open guy or take a shot on net. So it's always nice when you have a little extra room out there, and they did a lot of good job trying to create some more room.
Now, I know that you avoided a lot of that physical nature because of it, but you did take one injury. It was in early March against Oklahoma City. You only missed 2 games, but I know that had to be a difficult time for you. You took a really nasty hit from a guy that you grew up with, Tanner House from the Barons in Oklahoma City. He got suspended for a couple of games because of it. It was one of those things where I don't know if it was intentional, but it was a blow to the head, and obviously it left you missing a couple of hockey games.
Yeah, every time I see him around town, I try and give him the business about it, but I know I didn't mean to do it. It's just hockey, and things happen so fast, but yeah, that was my first ever concussion, and I wasn't expecting that, and it's kind of hard to deal with. I didn't know how to deal with it. I know some people it takes some months to come back, so I didn't know if it would take me a long time or if I was going to be in and out of the lineup kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, injuries do happen. I've had a couple of them here lately with fracturing my ankles, but I kind of knew what to deal with. I knew how to deal with it just for the fact that I've had injuries. I didn't get too down on myself. So, and I know he didn't mean to do it. He sent me a message on Twitter right away, so everything was all fine and dandy from that side of things.
So you were okay with sort of, I mean, obviously you've known him for a long time. You guys live in the same town, but you weren't holding a lot of animosity towards it?
Oh, no. It's, like I said, it's hockey and things happen. It's such a fast game. I made a move on Hordichuk, and he just came to make a hit, and when I made my move, he was already in line to come and hit me, and I had moved into a different direction. He just clipped me right in the jaw. So I saw the play. It was dirty, but he didn't mean to do it. So, I mean, things happen.
Now, you dealt with another injury. You mentioned someone that you've had over your course of your career in the playoffs. And we were talking in our last episode with Alex Chason about lots of things, such as, you know, the chemistry of your line and why you guys clicked. And it's amazing because his answers almost directly mirror yours with how well the three of you got along off the ice, the golfing outings that you guys would do. I would imagine that you probably wiped the floor with those two, but did you, before we get to the injury, I have to ask now that I think about it, did you dominate those two when guys were on the golf course?
We never played, we never kept our own score. We never did stroke play. We always did a best ball, but I don't like to say it, but I did take a few meals from Mike Hedden, so I'll just leave it at that.
I've heard about a couple of those. He was very vocal in his displeasure, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he wasn't too happy about it. He let everyone at the rink know he wasn't too happy.
But going back to the playoffs, you had to deal with a hand injury that nobody knew about until the playoffs ended, and it was why you stopped taking faceoffs and Chason, which went in there. And he even said during our last episode of Summer with the Stars that he felt like even though you guys compensated as best as you could, it probably hurt your line a little bit having to deal with it because it wasn't the usual flow that you three had become used to.
Yeah, it was just something that we had to deal with, and I mean, it's always hard to take faceoffs when you only have one hand, and I mean, you're going against guys who are good at faceoffs, and I mean, it's professional hockey now, and if they have an advantage on you, they're almost always going to win. So, I mean, Alex is good at faceoffs, and we're both good on our strong sides, but it was hard because he had to take faceoffs on his weak side now too because I couldn't take any at all. So, I mean, when you don't start with the puck as much, if you don't have the time of possession, you're not going to do as much with it, and that just means you have less time to create scoring chances for yourself. And if you're chasing the puck around the rink, that's not what a line like we want to be doing. We don't want to be playing defense. We want to be playing in the offensive zone, and it's just that much harder when you got to chase the puck, and that might waste 15 to 20 seconds of your shift just trying to get the puck back.
Now, when you how did you hurt your hand initially?
I got a slash and broke my pinky, and then eventually I ended up jamming my wrist. And back in when I played in Idaho, I had a bad sprain on the ligament in there. So once it came back to when I jammed my wrist in the playoffs, I couldn't bend or rotate my wrist, so it was kind of just stuck in a locked position. And that's what I had to deal with, and that's all I had to work with was just like a straight wrist. There's no movement in it. Everything was just really sore and locked up and swollen, so it was hard to do anything with it, really.
Were you frustrated trying to go through the playoffs knowing that the Stars felt like they really had a chance to go a long way and not being at 100%?
Yeah, it was frustrating because I just wanted to do so much more to be a bigger part in it and be a bigger part in helping us go far, because I mean, this is the first time in my career that I've had a good opportunity to go to the finals and maybe even win a championship. And yeah, it was really disappointing when I got hurt, and just knowing that everything was just going to be that much harder. And if it didn't happen, then like it was just hard knowing that I couldn't play at 100% and I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do to help the team win. And I'm sure everyone who was hurt, and there was a lot of us who felt the same way.
And the team was really, I mean, I know that all teams deal with this in the playoffs, but a lot of guys on the Stars were banged up. You still ended up with 4 points. You were tied for second on the team in playoff points, but I'm sure that's probably no more than consolation because of, A, the situation, and B, you obviously wanted to make a bigger impact. But what was the conversation like between you and the Dallas guys, you know, new general manager Jim Nill and Les Jackson, for your exit meetings?
It was good. They're happy with me, and they're happy with everything I did. I know that they were looking at trying to get me back, and that was what our year-end meeting was about. And they know, like, playoffs are a tough time of year, and everything gets ramped up, and everything's a little bit harder and a little bit quicker. So they knew that that's why my point production went down. But I mean, everyone's always does go down in the playoffs. Like Matt Fraser, I think he only got 2 goals, but he also played with a broken finger. And I mean, it's not just about getting points. They knew that we worked hard and everyone did their part, and we all tried our hardest to get to the championship and win more games and see how far we could go. But it didn't happen, and they knew that. So they knew I worked hard, and they knew that I wanted to stay here, and I think they were pretty happy and pleased with what I did, especially only coming in and seeing me play maybe 10 games after Nieuwendyk left. So I'm happy I pleased them, and I'm happy I'm back.
Now, I know that you have – everybody in Texas has seen your skill. You have some incredible offensive skills and puck handling. But you mentioned before that in your training you kind of wanted to get a little bit bigger. Now, you know, very few guys have the size and strength naturally of a guy like Alex Chiasson or even Jamie Alexiak. But what are some of the goals that you're trying to put out for yourself this summer to help improve your overall game?
I just want to – last year I came in a little bulky in camp, as in my upper body I was a little bit bigger, and this year I don't want to slim down, but I want to stay the same thickness I am up top, and then just try and get my legs as thick and as big and strong as possible, because like heading into the season now, going into my 3rd year, and then who knows, maybe down the road playing a couple NHL games, everyone's so much bigger and so much stronger that I need to be stronger on my legs. And me being a smaller guy, if I want to be able to stand in there and not get pushed around, I have to have a good center of gravity and good balance. So that all comes from my legs. So the big thing is just getting my legs bigger, getting them stronger, maybe gaining 5 to 7 pounds, just adding that little bit more that people have to push around on me.
It's interesting you say that, because a guy who has had a lot of NHL experience is not the tallest guy that you've ever seen play, not the shortest, is Toby Peterson. He has an incredibly solid core. His legs are enormous, and he's very, very hard to push off the puck. Is that sort of some of the idea of the guy you kind of want to mirror what your training is after?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to be like, is a guy like Toby. I mean, he's been through it. He knows what it's like to train as a smaller guy. So I'm going to try to mirror what he did in the summer and try and get as big as I can below the waist, and just try and be as strong and sturdy and well balanced as I can be on the ice.
Well, I only have a few minutes left for you. You and I could probably talk all day, but I wanted to ask you about what you've been going through in Alberta the last few weeks and a month or so now with the flooding. Cochrane, your hometown, is northwest of Calgary. If we want to get geographical, it's in the Bow Valley, which of course is named after the river. But everybody heard, or at least I hope most people heard about what happened in Alberta, but you lived it. What was it like going through the floods that were, and just the never-ending rain that was going on in that section of Alberta?
Yeah, it was like 3 days of just madness. There's no sun, and it was just a torrential downpour for 3 days straight. And at first, no one even knew that it was going to flood or anything. Everyone just thought it was going to be another little rainstorm that would last a day, and then kind of blow on through, and we'd be back to our business. But it just kept coming and coming and coming, and then all of a sudden the city went into a state of emergency, and everything just started going underwater, and homes were getting taken away, and basements were gone. And I know, like, about 30 minutes north of us, there's houses that were just getting torn down, and they're floating down the river and getting torn apart, going underneath bridges. And like 17th Ave downtown is almost like 6th in Austin, and the whole thing was underwater. Like, gas stations were underwater all the way up to the roof. It was an unbelievable sight, and I had never seen anything like that.
Now, you mentioned, in fact, you're taking a break right now to do an interview with us, that you've been kind of helping with the recovery and cleanup efforts. What exactly are you doing right now?
There's a bunch of us that have just been doing like a lot of sandbags. So when it first happened, I went down to the town center, and I was helping just fill sandbags and put them out next to the river, next to people's homes and stuff like that. And now there's thousands of sandbags now kicking around town that need to be picked up. So I mean, it's not a bad workout for me, picking up 100-pound sandbags and moving them places. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just picking them up, moving them away from the river, and trying to get everything cleaned up as good as possible.
That's the kind of cross-training you can't just make up in your mind. Do you do that in addition to going to the gym?
Yep, so I'll do that for a couple hours, and then I'll go home and make some food, and then I'll head to the gym, and then I'll have to do my ice time. So long days, but it's worth it. The people need it, and the people need the stuff off their lawns, and they've gone through enough already, so I don't expect them to have to move their own sandbags.
Well, Justin, it's great to hear that you've been able to be such a positive influence in your native area, and as well as we're really excited to have you coming back to the Texas Stars to start the 2013-14 season. And I know it's not that far away, but you have to be pretty excited about it. Thanks so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and really look forward to seeing you come mid to late September down here in Cedar Park.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the call, and thanks for having me on.
Justin Dowling joining us for episode 9 of Summer with the Stars. I'm Owen Newkirk, and we will be back next week with another episode. Thanks so much. So long, everybody.